Hello, and welcome to episode 40 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I've been waiting for tonight for quite a while because we have a very special guest on tonight's show that I'll be introducing in just a few minutes. First, there's many things you can do to reach out to me and be a part of the show. First of all, make sure right there on the right side of your screen, you hit that subscribe button. Again, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing whatsoever to do that. And after you do that, make sure you hit that notification bell because that'll tell you when new content will come up on my show. Also, you see a scroll there on the bottom. Please email me to contact me if you have any questions or comments about the show. And that email is hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Again, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Great way to get in touch with me. Also, follow me on Twitter @hkravitz. I believe I'm a very good follow. We talk about a lot of things on Twitter, not just horse racing, but the focus is more on horse racing. My Twitter handle has blown up in the last few months. We've had over 10,500 views on this show. There are over 250 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And again, if you're not familiar with the YouTube channel, all you have to do, and you see the scroll on the bottom, to find the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm only on YouTube right now. I'm hoping to get onto SoundCloud, Spotify, and other places. But all you need to do, if you don't have the link, is just go to the search bar for YouTube and type in Howard's Horse Handicapping. Again, Howard's Horse Handicapping. That is the HHH Racing podcast location that you want to go, and you can check it out there. Now, tonight, there's a lot of ways to get in touch with the show. And before we do that, and by the way, I'm not only the host, I'm also the producer and the director. So if you see me sort of peering over to the right side, I'm just clicking the screens and getting everything ready for that. But if you're not familiar with me or the show, I am become a writer for the In the Money podcast blog. You see on the bottom there. If you want to get picks for Canterbury Park, which is our main focus of today's show, along with talk about the Minnesota Vikings, all you need to do is to go to inthemoneypodcast.com and click on blog at the top of the screen, and you will go and you'll see my detailed daily analysis and selections for Canterbury Park. They run Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So you'll see my picks and selections in themoneypodcast.com. There's also In the Money Podcast Plus, which is a special feature with a very small fee that you can pay monthly and get a lot more picks and analysis on inthemoney.com, inthemoneypodcast.com. Great place to go for everything horse racing, especially for the horse player. Also, if you'd like to be a part of the show, we'd love to have you comment, question, and all you need to do is you can see on the bottom of the screen, I can just click on your post for Paul Allen about Canterbury Park, horse racing, the Vikings, and you'll have a chance to be part of the show. So please make sure you're active on the right side of the screen there with your chat. Right now, I am waiting, to be very honest, for Paul Allen. He has the information. Paul, if you happen to be watching this, go ahead and just click on that link that I sent you in your email. It was your KFan email. So again, we're waiting for Paul Allen to come on, and once he's all ready to go, we'll go ahead and bring him on. But again, the plan tonight is we're going to extensively talk to Paul Allen. He's a great guy, great personality. He does three things mainly. He is the race caller at Canterbury Park up in Minnesota. He also has a talk show on KFan. I believe it's 9 to noon during the week. And also, of course, he is the voice of the Minnesota Vikings of the NFL. So we have a lot to talk to him about. Again, I'm waiting for Paul. I know this is a bit of an unusual situation. I apologize. If anyone listening happens to know Paul. I do not have his cell phone number. I only have an email address that I sent him all the information. I have not heard from him yet, so I'm a little bit concerned. I'm sure everything is fine. Perhaps there's a little snafu that he's run into. I'm not really sure quite yet. So please just be patient. We'll hopefully, again, if you have or listen, you happen to know Paul Allen. If you want to give him a phone call and tell him to check his email, his KFan email, I sent him the link that he needs to use to get on up to the show because I've not heard from him yet. So as we wait for Paul, we're going to be talking about Canterbury Park. Now, Canterbury Park opens tomorrow. The track is in Shakopee, Minnesota. It's a fantastic track. It's very underrated. I would say it's more of a mid-level track in terms of their purse structure and quality, but it's a very fan-friendly track, and they have some fantastic wagering opportunities up at Canterbury Park, including an industry low 10% pick five, 50-cent pick five, and a 10% takeout in their $1 pick six. And their pick six is not a rainbow bet. So Canterbury Park is going to be a fantastic place to go for your betting dollars starting tomorrow. Not only that, they race at 5 o'clock Central Time is their post time. So for those of you that are obviously working during the day, it's a great time for you to work during the day and then bet the races at night. Of course, depending on where you live in the country. And then Sunday they race at 1 o'clock. Also, we were going to talk about Paul, a little bit of his background. Then we're going to discuss Canterbury Park. And also, if you are an NFL fan and if you are watching this show as a Vikings fan, welcome to the show. We're going to be chopping it up with Paul on NFL talk specifically, about the NFC North and the Minnesota Vikings, who I thought had a fantastic draft. We're going to talk about that. So if you're listening to the show, wanting to talk some Minnesota Vikings football, we will be doing that also. We already have a question. I'll just go ahead and show it. Jay is on the show, and Jay is a big fan. He wants to know Paul's opinion on Naira suspending Baffert and Linda Rice. I have to be honest, Jay, I've been very busy today. I did not hear about the Linda Rice situation. I did hear about the Bob Baffert suspension for Naira, so it'll be interesting to get Paul Allen's opinion on those two items as well. Obviously, Bob Baffert's been in the news a lot lately, unfortunately not for very good reasons, as his Kentucky Derby winner, Medina Spirit, finished third in the Preakness behind Midnight Bourbon and, of course, the fantastic, awesome Rombauer, who absolutely blew by the field. And if you want to see my preview, or excuse me, my review of all the races at Pimlico this past weekend, please go to episode 39 on my YouTube channel. And I had an excellent review of some stake races, including the Preakness, on my YouTube channel. So again, we're still waiting for Paul. I'm not really sure. Again, I don't have any other information I know the email went through, folks, so I'm hoping everything's okay with Paul. I've not heard anything yet from him. There's a link that he has to join. Again, if you happen to be listening to the show and you know Paul personally, please go ahead and contact him and let him know they need to check his email so we can get him on the show. In the meantime, while we're waiting for Paul, I'm just going to go ahead. Please go ahead in the chat, place some questions, and I'll talk a little more about my impression of what happened this weekend. So I did not have Rombauer on top in the Preakness. I was actually pretty surprised. We did talk about Rombauer on my show and how, he ran well in the Bluegrass. Listen, he got an 88 buyer. He didn't really get a pace set up because highly motivated and essential quality who just went 1-2 around the track. And Rombauer certainly ran just fine. I did not see a 14-point explosion coming his way. He was working very well at Santa Anita. And I'll tell you what, Flavian Pratt gave this guy an unbelievable ride. Flavian Pratt If he was out on the East Coast, I think he'd be, right up there with Irad Ortiz in terms of, people's perception of who the best jockey in the country is. If it's not Flavian, he's got to be 1A along with Irad because he gave a great mount, a great ride, excuse me, on Rombauer, put him in a perfect spot, and was right there when the real racing started at the top of the stretch when Midnight Bourbon went by. And it looks like right now that Rombauer is headed to the Belmont Stakes. And this Belmont Stakes is going to be something special because you're going to have essential quality. Again, we're still a few weeks away, but it looks like we're going to have essential quality. You're going to have Rombauer. It looks like there's a great chance we're going to have the filly Malathot, who is extremely talented, could run all day, and is going to try to pull a rags to riches 2.0. I personally am hoping we're going to see Rock Your World as well because I think he has a ton of talent and would have a big shot in the Belmont. I don't see the distance being an issue for him either. So again, not only Belmont Stakes, but the Belmont Stakes day is like a mini Breeders' Cup. It is absolutely fantastic. They have great stake races all day, grade ones left and right. All the stars are going to come out. I'm very excited about Belmont Stakes Day. It's going to be very interesting. So, according to Jay, wow. Linda Rice lost her license for 3 years for bribing officials. Wow. Jay, I'm assuming that's obviously true. I apologize for questioning you. And like I said, I have not really had a chance to look into news for horse racing today. So, which is unlike me, but I had an extremely busy day today and I was getting ready for tonight's broadcast. That is absolutely shocking to me. Um, as far as I know, Linda Rice really hasn't had any issues before. She's a fantastic trainer. She actually won the Saratoga training title several years ago, which was an astonishing feat considering all the great trainers that point to Saratoga. So I will find out more information about this absolutely stunning news to me as I'm literally, Jay, just finding out this information right now. Again, we have several people watching, and I thank you very much for watching the show. Please stay tuned. I'm going to be very patient. Again, I'm not really sure what's going on in terms of where Paul Allen might be. I'm just checking my email real quick as I talk here on the show, and I don't see. Obviously, I hope everything's okay with Paul Allen. Very worst case scenario, if he is not here, I'll go ahead and continue to talk about some things that are going on. I'll talk about the Canterbury meet myself, and I'll talk also about the Minnesota Vikings and the NFL a little bit as well for people that are interested in learning about that. Again, anyone who's watching the show right now, if you happen to know Paul Allen personally, if you could possibly call him and find out what the situation is. Maybe perhaps he got the time mixed up. It is 7 o'clock. I did tell him it's 7:15 here in the Chicago area Central Standard Time. So again, obviously, I hope everything is okay. Perhaps there is a mix-up with Paul Allen. Worst case scenario, if he's not on tonight, we're not going to be able to get him on Thursday night show. My regularly scheduled podcast is on Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Coincidentally, the Canterbury Park racing will be occurring exactly. The races will be going on during my podcast on Thursday night, so obviously you won't be able to get Paul Allen on there unless we can get him on for a few quick minutes between his races. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But I'd like to get Paul on for an extended period of time. Let me go ahead and talk about Canterbury Park. Sorry, Tom, I'm just reading there's an article apparently in the Blood Horse. I'm sure there's articles all over the place about what happened to Linda Rice today. Let me tell you a little bit about Canterbury Park while we're waiting for Paul. So if you're not familiar with Canterbury Park, they have a fantastic racing program. It's 65 days. It starts tomorrow. Like I said, if you're interested in my picks, let me just go ahead and show you that again. If you're interested in my picks, all you have to do is go to inthemoneypodcast.com, click on blog. I have an article on there today. I'm just sort of previewing the card. Um, it's a 65-day meet. Their purse structure is over $200,000 daily, so they've really improved their purse structure. They have horses coming in from all over the country, trainers and riders coming in from all over the country. I know Roberto Tino, can't never say his name correctly, Diodoro. Diodoro has a full barn this year with Ty Kennedy coming in as his first call rider. So they're going to be a major factor. Raya Eichelberry is the returning jockey champion. He's actually on a 3-day suspension to start the meet because of riding infraction last year. That carries over to the first 3 days of the meet this year. But he's going to be there. A lot of other excellent. Eddie Martin is going to be there as well. And ladies and gentlemen, I just noticed that Paul is now going to be joining the show. So I'm going to bring in Paul for just a minute. I'm so happy, Paul, that you are here. I'm assuming you can hear me just fine. And Paul, go ahead and give me a little thumbs up off camera if you can hear me and you're ready. All right, Paul is going to be joining the show here in just a minute, folks. Listen, let's not wait any longer because this is the star of the show tonight. Let me introduce to you the track announcer at Canterbury Park up in Shakopee, Minnesota. He has a show on KFan Radio, for, I believe Monday to Wednesday from 9 to noon, and also the voice of the Minnesota Vikings, Mr. Paul Allen. Paul, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Howard, nice to meet you, my man. You know, I'm super sorry that I'm late. We actually have beautiful weather in Minnesota, so I kind of got lost daydreaming a little bit. And with racing at Canterbury beginning tomorrow night, I'm all over the pick 5 and the pick 6, and I'm just ready to go, man. So I apologize for being late. If you would like to do this today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm your Huckleberry.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Paul is now committed as my full-time co-host on the show. No worries, Paul. I was a little worried maybe there's an issue with the link I sent you or an email, but I'm very happy that you received everything. I know you're an expert in the business, so obviously you know how podcasts and work and all that. I am so happy to have you on the show. Listen, everyone needs a little catnap before the big races because you have got your hands full starting tomorrow night. Paul, I'm a big fan. I'm very excited you're here. I can't thank you enough. I also want to publicly thank Jeff Madej in media relations, who I know you know very well at Canterbury. Also, I had a good conversation today, Paul, with Brian, who does Aragoni. Fantastic guy. I look forward to meeting with him. But, Paul, here's my first question, because, listen, this is a serious show. This is like 60 minutes of horse racing. Cool. We're going to get deep into the question. So here's the first question I've got for you out of the box. Mm-hmm. Canterbury Park, 2021, the Corgi races. Who do you have? Pendleton or Tedford Woofington? Tough call. Who do you got?
Well, you know what? Your intel is elite. I have a Woofington shirt from the fan club, Tedford, wow. I believe. So if we are permitted to have them, which I assume, we would find a way to have the entertainment quotient known as dog racing, then I'll call it. Jeffrey will bet on it. Jeff Madej, a co-worker of mine there, coming up on 3 decades now, right next to each other, for better or for worse, mostly for better for a long time. And he'll be on the grandstand making those side wagers on the Corgi races, man. So bet 20 on somebody.
I'll tell you what, folks, if you've not gone on YouTube and checked out Canterbury Park Corgi races, listen, Paul, I think it's important to mention because I have some cynical, friends that are involved in horse racing and say, why do we need Corgi races? Why do we need all these? Listen, in my opinion, I'm sure you feel the same way. Any chance to get people to the track is a good thing. And we're going to talk more about Canterbury here in just a little bit. But it's such a great family-friendly track. And just watching, I've not been to the Corgi races at Canterbury, but just watching the videos, those fans that are on the apron are into those Corgi races as much, if not more, than the actual horse races. So I think these kind of those days are very important. I'm sure you'd agree
Well,
with that.
you know what, man? I mean, I'm not, I guess I am kind of speaking for Canterbury management, but I'm not part of management. But, I was there to call the first race in 95. Here I am 2021 with the Sampsons, Andrew Offerman, and so on. But for those of the cynical ilk with the way we do things, Minnesota is it's not a heritage horse racing state. So therefore, the majority of the people we get might spread out a blanket, eat food, drink beverages, and bet $40 on the whole day. But, racetrack management around the country acknowledges us. And when jockeys, trainers, and owners come in and they see, that we average close to 7,000 a racing day, we have Thursday night races with like 12,000 and we used to have 20. So we're always growing our attendance and our concessions. And I think quietly that's the envy of the industry to be able to do that. The dog races are a major component here with what we do. That's just how we do it, and we like it.
And the great thing about your energy and excitement, because you bring it every day, whether it's at KFAN, the Vikings, Canterbury, is your calls on these corgi races and are fantastic. And you have like the super slow-mo with the photo finish. Listen, it's just fantastic. I don't want to keep talking about it, but you folks have to check it out. So, Paul, I have no time limit tonight. Again, I asked you just for some time tonight. Again, I'm glad you're able to join us. Feel free to stay on as much as you like, because I have a lot of questions I'd like to ask you, and people are very interested in in yourself and what's going on. So first, just a little bit about your background. I have a very diverse crowd.
Look at the top right of your screen. What a beautiful picture of the San Gabriel Mountains.
Yes.
With Santa Anita. I worked there. I'm sure you know this because it looks like you've gone deep diving. I worked there 5 years. That's technically where my race announcing career began. On the roof of that racetrack. But that's a beautiful picture, man.
Thank you. Well, first time, I've only been to Santa Anita once, Paul. First, and was the Malibu
Ask a long question. I got to get my pizza.
No problem. All right. So, Paul, listen, guys, this is why I love this guy. We're live, of course. Paul, if you can hear me, bring back some pizza for me. I have not eaten yet tonight, but Paul started his career out west at Bay Meadows calling races. We're going to talk to him for a minute.
Hey,
man, what do we got there, Paul? What do we got? I'm hungry, man.
Off, okay?
All right. So, Paul started his career out at Bay Meadows in California. We're going to talk to him.
Give it to me.
About that. Paul, what do we got on the toppings there? I haven't eaten yet, sir. What do we got?
That's called a breakfast pizza made by a local company called Heggy's.
Okay.
It's very good in a pinch. You overcook it a little bit, get it crispy, put some hot green sauce on it, and just let it cool down for a minute. So ask a long question. Here I come.
All right. So as we start, my first question for Paul is just to give a little background on where he started calling races. Not everyone watching the show tonight, Paul, might know you as a race caller. They might know you from the Minnesota Vikings or from other avenues. You just briefly talk about Bay Meadows and your experience with Trevor Denman, perhaps, and just really briefly how you got started in the business.
Yeah, man, that's a very, very deep and wonderful question. I haven't been asked in a long time. Bay Meadows is where I started, but as I mentioned, because of your picture, there was a race line based in Delray Beach, Florida, back in the 90s. It was 1-900 something to get results, and they couldn't provide Trevor's call. So I would go to the roof at Santa Anita and called hundreds of races into a recorder. Then it would go onto that line, and I get paid a little bit of money. Through that, I met Trevor, and Trevor he took a liking to me at a younger age, and then when I went up to Bay Meadows, James O, who was the paddock analyst at the time, and James is just one of my lifetime best friends. He's going to be in Minnesota actually Thursday for our card because he's working with like these syndicates and stuff like that, pumping money into racetracks.
Terrific.
With this low takeout and stuff we got. So James O, God bless you. I filled in for him as the analyst, like 93 Bay Meadows Fair. They were auditioning announcers. I had a tape. Jack Liebau was the president. I knew he was from San Marino, California, which is close to Arcadia. I knew he knew who I was from picking horses in the Pasadena Star News and San Gabriel Valley Tribune. went up to him and said, I want to try. And he said, no. Then I came back the next day, tape recorder, Mr. Liebau, I want to try. He appreciated the fortitude, gave me an opportunity, and then I won the job. I started in 93. Larry Colmus held my hand a lot. He was doing Golden Gate Fields, me Bay Meadows, Hatfields, and McCoys, and he couldn't get both tracks, and I certainly couldn't either because it was my first year ever calling races. So that's kind of how it started, and just a lot of awesome people in Northern California. Then I get hired at Canterbury Park in 95 and moved here in 98. And, there are just so many blessings, just God's blessings on my career, just seriously by grace, because, with the radio job and the play-by-play job in the NFL and this, and to be able to do this is just an absolute blessing.
Well, I love West Coast racing. I was going to say my first and only time to the track at Santa Anita was Malibu Day, opening day, 2019. It was unusual. It was not the day after Christmas. I don't know if anyone remembers, but they had really horrible weather. They had like a rain/winter storm in 2019. Yeah. And so opening day was actually December 28th that year. Wow. But I saw Omaha Beach and some fantastic gift box and just I'll tell you what, I have a video, Paul, of on my YouTube channel of me that I'm taping just 1 minute walking through the entrance because it's sort of open air, as through the entrance, and then just seeing the San Gabriel Mountains. I almost shed a tear. It's got to be the most absolutely beautiful scene in horse racing, if not in the country, in the world.
How old are you?
I'm not that far off from you, Paul. I've got the big one this summer, the real big one.
Okay. Well,
I'll be 50 this summer.
I had the big one 5 years ago. I haven't felt my ribs in like 30 years, but so down memory lane we go. To have worked at that facility for 5 years, Santa Anita, Hollywood Park, and Del Mar half the time, but then Fairplex and Los Alamitos.
Sure.
Let's just start in like one of my first days at the racetrack. I'm at the Charlie Whittingham barn working with the Pasadena Star News. A groom for Charlie Whittingham was a kid with whom I played basketball at Glendora High School named Donnie Burke. So I'm into the Whittingham shed row, like, bam, right out of the gate. Again, another blessing. Man. And so the first horse I started writing about and became close with was Sunday Silence, the son of Halo and Wishing Well. So from there, man, it's being at the races then with John Henry and Perot. And I covered Bill Shoemaker's last ride, 6.5 down the hill. Eddie Delahousse got him at the wire. And I covered Bill Shoemaker's death. Just so many things. Then I get to Northern California to call races at Bay Meadows. One of my very first days, they can't find Ron Hansen. And I knew who Ron Hansen was, and then I started to hear the myth. But bottom line is they couldn't find him. And his car was like on the San Mateo Bridge. Oh, boy. I'm like, wow, what kind of supernatural have I rolled into?
Listen, it's all about luck and timing, right? I mean, so much of life is just a lot of it. You have to be at the right place, the right time. Amen. And by the way, for you younger viewers out there, and Paul, I've talked about this also. If you have not watched the Sunday Silence Easy Goer Breeders' Cup Classic, Amen. I think it was 89 or 90, Paul, at I believe it was at Gulfstream. Not only was that one of the best Breeders' Cup races of all time, but I think it might be one of the best races ever of any era. The call, I think it was Durkin on the call, just unbelievable. The Sunday Silence. I'm sure you remember the race because you like Sunday Silence.
And kind of being raised by Trevor a little bit, where I was calling races, he was listening to them, and and Trevor and his wife Robin and they spent a lot of time in Minnesota. We got really close then. Haven't talked to him in a while, sadly, but Trevor would hit me with, I like this, I don't. But bottom line is, I started at Bay Meadows, and I was trying to be Trevor, and it just wasn't working. And Mr. Liebau, stuck with me for 94. And then I got hired at Canterbury, and, it all kind of took off in Minnesota. But, just with, you mentioned Tom Durkin, and I don't get, having called races as long as I have, not like Vic Stauffer, he's called them longer, and so on, but 30 some odd thousand races, 37,000, 30-ish years from San Francisco to Minnesota. I don't get asked enough like what my favorite race call is. And maybe people in my profession don't, because if I did, I would point them to Tom Durkin the year Cigar won the Breeders' Cup Classic, and he beat Le Carriere, Soul of the Matter, can't remember, 96, 95, whatever.
Yep.
You pick that thing up at the 3/8 ball. When Durkin, Cigar's moving so fast, Durkin's going through the field, and he's so dramatic. He's just so theatrical. I just love him. And blah, blah, blah. 3 furlongs to go, Cigar! And he makes his move. And, then he carries us to the top of the stretch, and he's just dressing it up. And he gets caught, because I know this game, he gets caught not taking a breath at the 8th ball. So it's down by the 16th now, and Jerry Bailey, the way Durkin was just exasperated because he missed that breath, is like calling on Cigar for everything he has, and it just stretches out. And from the 3/8 on, that Cigar Breeders' Cup Classic, that is the best patch of race call ever created.
The incomparable,
Boom.
unbeatable, Cigar.
How about that?
Durkin has said that's his favorite call, by the way. And when he retired, they had a little on the infield board at Saratoga. They showed that race, Paul, because that's actually his personal favorite call. But I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things I want to talk to you about. Is you have a very distinct style, and I've seen you talk about this in articles and other videos. And like I said, I've been watching you since Bay Meadows, so I'm a big fan, and I know that your style, you try to build it up into a crescendo. And you've also mentioned that you wish that there were more race callers that were more distinct, that you feel like the business is a little bit cookie cutter right now. Is there someone out there that you enjoy listening to that is closer to the style that you enjoy, that's just not so...
Yeah, that's dicey, man. That's dicey, because I don't ever recall saying I wish more announcers were distinct. This...
I'm sorry if I misquote you. Just you like to see a little more originality, perhaps.
I'm just trying to think of how to phrase this, because... I've been blessed to call races at this racetrack for almost 3 decades. Okay. Yeah. So I got no idea. I'm going to guess that I'm probably the longest tenured at a racetrack in the country.
Yeah.
Probably. But then it's like, oh, it's Canterbury, whatever. I mean,
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all.
We can get worldly on it and be like, it's a paycheck. It brought me here. It led to K-Fan. It led to the Vikings. Or we can just play from our hearts and recognize it's a wonderful place with a lot more talent than people know, because they haven't taken time to bet us until we started lowering that pick 5 and getting rid of the jackpot and, doing the same thing with the pick 6. We saw that last year, the serendipity from COVID when we went weekday nights. When our fields were good, we were kicking ass, and when they fell off, a lot of the big players fell off, and I understand that. And they'll be back this year, because of this takeout. But, when it comes to me looking at the landscape of announcing, which I did last year, really for the first time in a long time, working my radio job, calling Vikings games, nothing against national horse racing. I'm all Canterbury, and then Breeders' Cup, Derby, Preakness, and Belmont. So I just don't follow it closely. Now, the quarantine hits, TVG's everything, and Fauner Park's taking $5 million a day. I'm watching everybody. I'm like, all right, I just think there are some wonderful opportunities out there for people who would like to be themselves while being different. I mean, that's the only way I can explain it. I don't head into, am I racing? All right, what am I going to do here to be distinct? Around about the quarter pole, things that I've been saying for years.
Sure.
In the National Football League, when Adrian Peterson came in 2007, I took a Canterbury Park call from 2004 when a horse would open up 4 at the top of the stretch, and he's loose. And I put it on Adrian, and the NFL loved it. Right. So it just shows you how things work hand in hand. But there's gold in them thar hills. And in my opinion, if somebody wants to execute their toil and work on it and color it up a little bit and be distinct and be yourself, then you can get a job and you can hold it for a long time.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about Canterbury specifically in their bets, and I will be part of the team that's going to be helping they handle Canterbury through the In the Money Racing team. Because before you came on, I'm not sure you're aware that I'm going to be the main analyst and selections for the In the Money podcast blog. So every racing day, I will have a fairly large article with my picks and selections. with emphasis on the pick 5, Paul, because I'm a horizontal player also. So
you're talking about you're going to do that for Canterbury?
I'm doing that for In the Money podcast.
Okay.
In the Money Media podcast.
No, but what I'm saying is, will you be handicapping Canterbury?
Yes, only Canterbury. Yes, sir.
Do me a favor, bud. Link me on Twitter, and I'll quote tweet you to the big stable.
You got it. I will be happy to do that. No problem.
And thank you.
You see on the bottom of the screen there, Paul, we're going to have people chatting in. Jay mentioned, we got 73 entries on opening day for the pick 5, so it's huge fields already for the pick 5. If you can, I don't know if you can see the bottom of the screen there where you're at.
I see it.
You see it there? Yeah, okay.
I got it all.
All right, but anyway, so yeah, great racing. Let me tell you, where did their racing start? I was always interested to ask you that, and also got his mind on the money and his money on the mind. I always wanted to know where that came from. Before you answer those questions, Paul, I heard Tom Durkin. Tom Durkin, by the way, and Trevor, those are my 1A. Go either way with them. My favorite callers of all time. Tom Durkin mentioned.
You know what? Michael Rona might be the most brilliant race caller in the history of the game. Might be. Piercing voice was not for the Bay Meadows directors. That's why I got hired. And for whatever the reason, the rich people running the tracks, if they don't like the voice and it's not distinct and they can't understand your enunciation or whatever in the stairwell, then, you might be gone. But hey, for my money, Rona may be the most brilliant in the history of the game.
I'm from the Chicago area, and he called races at Arlington as well. So I actually saw him call some races there. But where did those calls come from? And Tom Durkin mentioned the importance for a race caller. He does a lot of reading. He mentioned that really helped his vocabulary. I was wondering where you found some of these vocabulary words, if you enjoy reading, and then where those two particular sort of signature calls for you came from. The start of the race that you call, and then the got his money on his mind comment.
Well, within the racing, in '93, again, I'd never done it professionally. I started in their racing for that race line when I was doing it for the off the roof at Santa Anita, and they're racing. Okay, so Trevor Denman, and away they go. Michael Rona racing. So, maybe I took Trevor and meshed it with Michael because of my admiration, and I made it me. So we all have different voices, and we carry different tunes. So, and they're racing. Now over the years, I've learned to play with it. And when I call races, I want to be accurate. And I want to identify the winner as quickly as I can. But anybody who listens to my race calls knows mostly, unless I'm tired from a lot of work with KFan and the Vikings, or I'm losing an immense amount of bets, just kidding, then I like to color it up. And I like to, I'm not saying dead air, like on my radio show, if you're setting up a point about Howard and he's just not working with Kirk Cousins, pause, they wait. Who knows? Who says it's not going to work by game 3? So therefore, my pacing in my race calls by design, I make it different than everybody else. But that challenges me, and I have fun with it, within my mind during the course of the race. So, and they're racing feels like Trevor and Michael meshed with my voice. He cuts the corner with his mind on the money and the money on his mind. Snoop Doggy Dog. When I was driving from San Francisco to Shakopee, the doggy style tape came out. Wasn't even a CD, Howard. It was a tape. And Snoop Doggy rolling down the street with Howard sipping on gin and juice. So those were the songs. And I got my mind on the money and the money on my mind. Paying homage to Snoop.
I love it. Sorry, you have me cracking up there, Paul. Listen, we got a question real quick. This is from, it says Carolyn, but actually this is Jim. He uses his wife's messaging there. How do you manage to memorize an entire field in only 20 minutes?
Actually is Jim, which means my graphic should say RuPaul Allen.
No. How do you memorize a field in 20 minutes, Paul? You have a little trick on how to do that?
Yeah, you know what? I don't memorize them. Now when we have Mystic Lake Derby Day or Claiming Crown, and I know that I might get 3 good ones down to the wire with 3 noses, I got to know those silks on the inside, so I don't want to mess up with more people watching and more betting money. But generally speaking, if we're up there around 12, 13, 14 on the turf, I'll take a peek. But whether it's Dean Butler, Rye Eccleberry, whomever I've seen forever, but we got a lot of new jockeys this year.
You better be ready to call Ty Kennedy because he's first call for Diodoro, and I got a feeling that kid's going to have a huge meet.
Wow, first call for Diodoro. Good for him.
Yeah. So he's going to have a huge meet.
So you know what? God just blessed me with the ability during the course of the race. I see the colors. I know the riding styles, generally speaking, and I just follow the saddle towels and the helmet covers. And again, I use my voice differently than most announcers, and it helps me pace my way through it. So no, I don't. I'll memorize some of them, but not many.
So there's two particular calls I want to ask you about, and then we're going to talk about the Canterbury meet a little bit specifically, and then we'll get into some Vikings talk because I know there's some football fans.
I got 10 minutes, Howard, so let's go, man.
All right, we'll rock and roll real quick.
It's not going to eat itself.
Okay, no problem. Really, listen, feel free to eat while you're talking. I have no problem with that. But listen, I'll be quick. Two calls that I love of yours. I had a friend that said, did you know that Paul Allen called helium? I'm like, really? I thought helium only ran at Tampa Bay and then in the Derby. Can you briefly talk about your call, not with helium, but on helium?
Yeah, I didn't practice it. There was an EMT there. They had people around me in case it went pear-shaped. So I did it, and the voice got real high. You can find it on YouTube. It was cool. Angela Herman was the analyst then. She's back with us this year as a host and a conduit to a lot of things from the Winter Circle. I had a lot of fun. Problem is, I liked it too much. So after I lost 5 consecutive pick fives, I went looking for that helium in the storage closet just to forget about the L's, and I couldn't find it.
Would that be in the spacious press box that you guys have there that I've heard so many great things about?
Yeah, if there's a better announcer's booth than mine, I would have to see it because it's a good 15 feet deep and probably a good 7 feet wide. So it's a nice booth. If I was floating in that booth, Howard, on helium.
I bet. Good. By the way, I'm going to make my first trip to Canterbury Park June 23rd for Mystic Lake Day. I'd love to be able to meet you, Paul, and maybe see you call a race. That'd be a real pleasure. Yeah. So we'll set that up.
You can watch the Mystic Lake Derby in my booth if you want.
That would be amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully we'll see some good horses. I know we'll see some very high-quality horses coming there. The other call real quick, Paul, and then we'll get into some Canterbury Vikings talk briefly. The call that you – who do we got here?
This is Luna. My daughter found her in a trash dumpster by her school probably about 5.5 months ago.
Wow.
And first cat I've ever had. And this baby out of a dumpster, was meant to be here and be saved. Secondly, had awful mites in the ear, gave everybody ringworm, but now she's back. She bounced back, and now she's a pretty kitty.
Well, she's fantastic. Thanks for having her on the show. Listen, the call with your son on Father's Day, can you briefly talk about that? I thought that was so touching, and you can just feel the emotion, in that race, Paul. Can you talk about how that came about real quick?
Yeah, man. My son, Derek Allen, who has worked at Canterbury since he's 15, and he's working there now in food and beverage. He just finished his second year at Grand Canyon University in Phoenix. He went down there for the first year, stayed back here for the second year, and he holds that job. He's a good kid, man, just a loving kid. Came up to me a few years ago, and, he was kind of talking about something, and I said, do you want to call a race with me for Father's Day? And then he did it, and he did a great job, we felt. Then the next year, we had a promotion on Father's Day, and I can't remember what it was. We had 17,000 people.
Unbelievable.
So I'm out there with Derek, man. He turns around, looks at that crowd, and I'm like, boy, don't pee your pants right now. You're going to be okay. Okay. God will guide you through this. Let's go. And the embraces that we have, when it's done with me and they're racing, blah, blah, blah. Take it away, buddy. Then he does part, then I do part, and then he brings it home. The embraces that we have after are that of exasperation because he's like, oh, my God, I made it. And I'm like, oh, my God, what a special moment with my son. Now I got my 18-year-old daughter, Coley. She just graduated from high school yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's it's a different we're entering a different race beginning soon at a different track, and I'm excited.
Well, that'll lead me to my next question. Then we'll talk about the Vikings a little bit, if you don't mind, Paul.
Sure.
I know family's very important to you. and we're all coming off of COVID. I don't want to get into details, but I thought you very eloquently talked about your struggles with COVID, etc. How excited and what emotions do you think you're going to be feeling tomorrow calling those first races, and then also week 3 at US Bank calling with hopefully a full stadium? I can only imagine everything you and your family's gone through, those emotions that you and the fans are going to be feeling at both of those locations.
Well, I mean, when I got bit, and Lisa, the lady with whom I lived, and her mom eventually died at age 81, and I ran the in-home hospice for a week. That changed me forever in a lot of ways, and there are ways still developing every single second. When it comes to getting on the microphone tomorrow night at Canterbury Park, it's going to be no different than it was in 2020, 2015, 2008. I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to bring it for them. They pay me very well. They count on me, and everybody's going to get their money's worth because it's in my heart. Now after that with the Viking season, that's different. It's just they're all different, but there's nothing different for better or for worse with me. That's about the only way to answer it. I'm very black and white. Now, I feel life a lot, but I also have the ability to carry a lot on my shoulders. And when I provided care and comfort to a woman dying of COVID and cancer for 8 days, and her daughter couldn't get to her, so I had to run the in-home hospice because her daughter had COVID pneumonia. That was the greatest honor bestowed upon me in my life, and I carried a lot. So with that said, I don't really get moved by first night at Canterbury, what jitters or it's not any different. It can't be any different to push through this bullshit we've had to push through the last X amount of months. It's got to be the same, at least for me, from a performance standpoint, because there are people out there in a lot worse shape than me in a lot of different ways. And if they're taking in my race calls, my radio show, or my football calls, and they're trying to get a diversion from their lives, that is what I'm here to do, to serve. So that's my mindset heading into tomorrow.
Well, we look forward to hearing your calls at Canterbury. Again, they've got $1 pick six. They've got 50-cent pick five, only a 10% takeouts in most of the country. Everyone needs to get involved in Canterbury this summer because not only is the racing quality very underrated, but the betting opportunities are fantastic. Paul, let me go ahead and just end our conversation.
I got to give you a horse.
I'm sorry?
I got to give you a horse. Man, I still have Pimlico past performances. I don't know about you, bro, but I got murdered on Preakness Day. I made 13 bets and I lost them all. But here's the beauty of horse racing. How about this? To close a pick 4 in the Preakness, I did not have Rumbauer. Okay. I had 7 horses, so it's like I'm telling the flight attendant and Poopy Dave and the preacher, this is the beauty of horse racing. I'm going to hit this one bet, and I'm going to get all my money back, or maybe scoop 14 grand if the 9 wins. And then I didn't have Rumbauer, so I still got those Preakness PPs. That's no good. But go ahead and ask a long question. I'm gonna try to give your listeners and viewers a horse tomorrow night.
No problem. Yeah, Paul, I had a friend who was alive in the pick 5, had 5 horses between 5,000 and 20K. Didn't have Rombauer.
Yeah, I was alive in the pick 5, not the pick 4.
Oh, that was brutal. Yeah. I had a friend in the same situation. So, Paul, Minnesota Vikings. Hold on just a second. Let me get you in the mood here.
No, man. Fans. Giving your vast and ever expanding audience a Canterbury winner on a Talker Tuesday, that matters more than the freaking Vikings. All right, the Vikings don't even play till September, though.
Wait a minute, Paul. Here we go. Hold on a second now. You might actually enjoy this. Hold on 1 second.
What do you got?
Oh, here we go. Are you ready? Viking fans, are you excited? Are you ready?
Look at this. You got audio, too.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and eat while you're watching, Paul.
Yeah, see, that actually, when it is packed, is dramatic. Yeah, right. When they're starting the game like that or during the game, yeah, that stuff right there is nice, man. See, that, like per your question earlier, where I'm basically like, man, I'm kind of jaded just because I've been through a lot in the last 15 years, so I got to take things even keeled. No, this gets me right here.
You got that? You got the chills going right now, Paul?
We did not have that.
I getting pumped? There we go. I knew you'd appreciate it. I thought you'd like that, Paul.
Hey, Mac Robertson is gonna sweep our double. All right, probably won't pay that much. Race number 3, the first turf race. I really like Dean Butler on our turf course, specifically when we have the top 3 from the most recent Turf Paradise meet. Negron, I think Juarez, and maybe a Cruz or something, something like that, or Fuentes. And but so they're good and they're fearless and they're talented. Dino knows this course, and Eckleberry's on suspension, and Rye knows this course. So race number 3, number 9, Stormy Music.
Okay.
Dean Butler rides this one. 3-9 opening night. What
Paul,
about the Vikings?
The first race of the day, the 2 horse is the horse you're talking about, right?
No, I'm talking about race number 3.
No, you said the double. You said in the double. You said I think the first the 2.
What do I look like, Stephen Christ?
Well, you mentioned the double.
I got it. 2-4. Go on with that.
I think the 2 is a horrible favorite. How about that? Bam.
Good luck.
Drop the mic.
Let's make a side wager. I'll meet you in Hudson, Wisconsin. We'll see what happens.
Paul, I got a price play on first race. The 6 is who I like a lot in that race. A 10-1 morning line. Very interesting horse.
The old Westerman gang. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Here we go.
But by the way, Wednesday, Paul. So we don't talk Vikings. That's okay. This is your dime, your dance floor, so to speak. But Wednesday, a great thing's happening on Wednesday. That's extremely unusual.
The Westerman gang on the 25% first claim angle. Well done. Nice job, bud.
He's been racing mainly on turf, but he's absolutely bred for dirt. He's got some bullets in the holster. I love this. The morning line I think is you're not going to get 10-1.
She puts the blinkers on. Yes. And her works with the blinkers on are dynamite.
I love the outside post.
I got to change my pick.
All right. Listen, I'll send you that link. Listen, on Wednesday, you've got 2 of the all-time leading Minnesota breds racing against each other. It's extremely unusual that you have the 2 best all-time leading money earners in one state racing against each other. They've raced against each other a few times. They're going in the 10,000 lakes on Wednesday. You got Hotshot Kid versus Mr. Jägermeister, which I heard might have been your nickname in college. Who do you like, Paul, of those 2 on Wednesday in general?
Well, I have looked at that race. Now, I think I haven't gotten super deep into it, but there may be like Drop of Golden Sun in that race too. Hey, that race is a bear, and they get the hot shot down on the inside. I believe he has the 1 post, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he tailed off a little bit last year. And he's Canterbury Immortality. Ain't nobody taking a shot at him. But no, he tailed off a little bit last year. That doesn't mean he can't win this race. Jägermeister is going to give you 21 and a piece, 44 and change.
Yeah.
I don't know. He tailed off just a tiny bit too, but they love this racetrack. It should be an unbelievably wide open race.
Yeah, they're not quite the same as they used to, but they each have earned over 600,000. Unbelievable. Yeah. So I've got a segment. I don't know if you have 5 minutes left at all, but I've got a very quick segment that I have. It's 10 rapid fire questions. Paul, you got 5 minutes to spare?
No.
All right, hold on a second. Let me just. I'm also the producer director. I do it all on my show. So give me 1 second.
Yeah,
We're
I know,
do
man.
A segment with Paul.
I mean, it pisses me off. I can't find that. Here it is. Hey, Madej, can you lay out any more Intel Steam in front of me? My God. Then I got those El Pimlico, whatever. So hot shot, he's on the inside control. Oh, Dom Plata. Yeah, I like Dame Plata in that race, number 3.
Yep.
That I'm actually betting on that one to win.
Okay. I actually like the 5. You mentioned the 5. That's my top choice.
Yeah, Drop a Golden Sun for sure. That's very what sharp. I was saying. And you're going to have Mac Robertson in here with your guy Ty Kennedy at about 10-1. I've seen Mac win these races at 10-1, specifically when he has the hot shot on the inside, and they're going to bet on immortality.
I think the 5 is going to sit right off of Jaeger and go by. I just think he's a younger horse and improving, etc.
Good race. Hey, that weekend ride number 2, that horse has talent too.
It's a great race. So here it is, Paul. Here's the segment. You'll see it on the screen. It is called 10 Minutes to Post. That's the name of the segment, Paul. 10 minutes to post. And here's how it works. I'm going to ask you 10 real quick, rapid-fire questions to end the show, if that's all right. We're going to have 5 sports questions, 5 horse racing questions, and then we'll say goodbye. And, again, I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. So here we go. And the questions are to come up on the bottom of the screen, Paul, but I'll read them off for the fans also. Here we go. Rapid fire, real quick. Question number 1. More fun to call zebras, camels, ostriches, or corgis?
I like the ostriches. For those who breed ostriches, I ain't trying to offend you. I don't live to offend. But I mean, you look at those eyes and the herky jerky moves they make. They're straight from the devil, and that's the only way to put it. I mean, they should be in the book of Revelation, and I'm offended they're not.
Who do you blame more for the Medina Spirit issue, Bob Baffert or just the lack of consistency and stricter punishments?
I wouldn't properly know how to answer that. My overarching would be, my overarching view is if you're an individual running the establishment and something goes wrong, then you have to face the consequences. So subsequently, we'll see where it goes. Medina Spirit, the Preakness, got beat. So we'll see what happens.
Craziest weather event during a race call? One of your race calls.
Well, yeah, in Minnesota, we'll get some significant rain. So nothing really. I mean, excuse
Bless
me.
You. No crazy fog at Bay Meadows where you couldn't see the horses?
Oh, yeah, there really has been, but nothing where a horse is jumping in it at the 3/8 like Rosie Ruiz of horses. Can't remember the Louisiana name, but that's okay. And then winning it by 5 and we're all cashing bets.
Okay. When did you first fall in love with horse racing? Was it a particular moment?
Yes, I lived in Private Hill Apartments in Oxon Hill, Maryland, and our apartment overlooked Rosecroft Raceway, which is a harness.
Harness, absolutely. I bet there.
And, I used to watch me, my friend Billy Camilio, and Lucius Tisdale, probably ages 11 or 12, 13-ish, 11 or 12. We'd ride our bikes and watch them warm up from the backstretch, where the half-mile pole would be in thoroughbred racing. Eventually, security reprimanded us and we couldn't go. Then my mom, single mom, took me there, and I just fell in love with the announcer. And there was a horse named Come On Fred, and he would always come from far out of it. I fell in love with it. I would mock the call around the apartment pool. And then the announcer, one day, the announcer stayed at that apartment complex, and I didn't know it. And I'm like, and 5 lengths back to Come On, Fred. Come on, Fred. And the announcer picked it up in the stretch by the pool. And I almost crapped my pants. I was so embarrassed. So I just loved it. I just loved announcers, man.
That's a great story. Unbelievable. Bucket list track or event that you haven't been to in the world, a particular day at a race or a track?
I would like to go to Saratoga. I've never been.
Either have I. Let's go together, Paul. You and I. Let's go.
Yep. I worked, and I've never been to Arlington Park. Then I don't exactly know what's happening with Arlington Park. I don't know.
You got about 5 months to get there. Otherwise, you're never going to see it again, unfortunately.
And that's going to be it, really. It's because, Ryan Hartman, hockey player, used to play for the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
He had a really good game 1 for us against Vegas yesterday. And I had him on my radio show, taped it today for tomorrow. And he loves horse racing. So we started talking about the Kentucky Derby. And Ryan Hartman mentioned he grew up very close to Arlington Heights. And he was saddened, with these are the Bears buying it or whatever. And then it just hit me damn, man, I never got a chance to see that place. And it's just so beautiful.
It's beautiful. Check it out this summer. You could work it out in your one-day trip. I'll host you, Paul. I'll take care of you.
I'm going to take some days off this summer at Canterbury. And they're going to be select Tuesdays when I got K-Fan, Canterbury, Vikings. I'll just be honest with you. And I can carry a big 3-job load for 2 decades as well as anybody you'll ever meet. With K-Fan and Canterbury moving to weekdays last year, kicked the bleep out of me. Kicked my ass. I was tired. I was sour. So I'm gonna take some Tuesdays off this summer and maybe a Sunday. And during that time, man, maybe Arlington can be the answer.
Well, maybe a Sunday. I'll be happy to host you. I got some connections there. I'm totally serious about this. So it's on full display for everyone. We'll talk, Paul. I'll take care of you on a Sunday. I'd love for you to come out there.
For sure, bud.
Absolutely. All right. NFL stadium you dislike the most to call a game at?
Say it again.
Sight lines. Not about the fans. Not about the players.
FedEx
sight
Field.
Lines.
FedEx Field. Absolutely the worst.
Okay.
Now there are corner angles which are not preferable.
Yeah.
And that what has really helped me with football announcing is that I've called so many races through binoculars. And so I do that a lot in football announcing. And from a game standpoint, a corner angle, deep corner, so back of the end zone, okay, in the corner. Arizona, Houston, Dallas, places like that, they have those corner angles. At FedEx Field, it's a corner angle. It's super low. So therefore, here I am, and then here's the Washington bench, okay? So when somebody starts heading up the field that way, you can't see them because there are guys on the sideline, so it just bugs me, man, but it's cramped. So that's the worst one.
By the way, Robert Williams on the chat there. He lives right down the street from Rosecroft watching the show tonight. So, Robert, there you go. A little Rosecroft love.
Right on.
All right.
Georges County in the house.
Next question. The opposite of that, other than U.S. Bank, the most enjoyable stadium to call a game.
That's tough. I like Seattle a lot, specifically when the crowd's loud, but we never win there. I like Lambeau a lot. It's immortality. The whole thing around Lambeau is spectacular. The booth is high, but that's cool because I use the binoculars. But there never has been like a raucous vibe at Lambeau. It's always just kind of like that, Soldier Field has a very low video game type angle. I love that, man. And the fans are right in front of you. Probably Soldier Field first.
Wow.
Gillette second. I don't get there enough. Badass booth. Mr. Kraft skimps on nothing. Badass booth. Low angle fans. Boston fans. Ooh, that's good. Soldier, Gillette, and then Seattle.
So how close are you to Jeff Joniak when you actually call your game? Is it pretty close to host?
Oh, yeah. Same level, probably about 5 booths away. What a great voice, too.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I haven't had a chance to meet him, but I love his calls. Most underrated Viking of all time. Underrated. Tough question.
Well, I mean, because when you say all time, that's a long time. I'm going to have to go from when I got here, 98 on.
Sure.
And I would say defensive tackle Kevin Williams, because he played on teams with Antoine Winfield and a really good offense with Culpepper and Moss. And, and Kevin, now granted, Kevin would hit all pro and he would make Pro Bowls. We here know how Big Country got it done as a 3 technique. Nationally, I never felt he got the recognition that he deserved, and he was unstoppable a lot of the time.
He reminds me a little bit, since I'm a Bears fan, Steve McMichael, who probably didn't get quite the respect he got because he was around Dent and Hampton, etc.
Yep.
2 other questions, Paul, and then we'll wrap it up. This is a tough one, I know. You're the coach. You've got 1 game. Who do you want on your team, Moss or Carter? And if you know either one of them and you don't want to comment, I understand, but maybe you have an opinion, not necessarily who's better, but just in a 1-game situation.
You can't answer that. I mean, because the thing is they both have been doubled so much during their career. The question now is going to be which one is not going to freak out and have too much anxiety because the defensive coordinator won't take 2 or 3 people off Hall of Fame receivers. It's an impossible question. I can't answer it.
As a Bears fan, I have so much respect for both those guys, but especially Chris Carter. I had nothing against Randy Moss, but man, Chris Carter would kill the Bears. He was just so. I don't know if a Hall of Famer can be underrated, but I think that guy still is underrated.
I love both those guys. I was close to both those guys when they were here.
Yeah.
And calling Randy's games to start my career. The Vikings play-by-play job is my first play-by-play job at any level. Okay, again, I auditioned and got it. That's grace. That's blessing. That's love from God. I should not be in these jobs that I have.
Now you deserve it. You deserve it.
Start the career, and Moss is on the team with Culpepper, and they got a good offense, and that really helped start my career. So I got to say Randy, because Randy helped start my career.
All right, there you go. Last question, Paul, and then we'll wrap it up. I figured you'd appreciate this question. These are questions just I came up with. They're not from anyone else other than me. Current player on the Vikings you'd most like to have with you in a bar fight. A current player. Just a mean son of a gun that just you'd love to have right next to you if necessary.
Could be Kirk Cousins because he has God on his side. So if somebody comes after me, it's 7 heads with 10 horns. This
not the answer I was expecting to hear you say.
This Dalvin Tomlinson we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take him. I'd take him on my side because he'll intimidate everybody because of how big he is, and he just looks like he's super tough.
Sure. Paul, before we wrap it up again, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Right on.
I look forward to meeting you June 23rd. Give me a quick prediction, Vikings, their record and where they're going to fall in the NFC North this year. What do you think?
I don't generally do that because it's too tough. I just don't really care enough about it at this stage of the season. It's
sure.
It's the way I look at it is I can even look at it now, but I'm not going to bore your audience with all 17 games. But
Ron Johnson's got you 12-5. So right.
Vikings.com.
It 9-1 the first 10.
Yeah,
he's got them red hot to start the season.
When it comes out, I go game 1. So at Cincinnati, we should not lose. You can't if you're going to make the playoffs, have a chance to win the division and win 11 or 12 and get an off week, you don't lose the season opener at Cincy. Then you go to Arizona. It's a toughie, but you're bringing Patrick Peterson back to the place he played for 10 years. And our offense is going to be really, really good like it was last year. So, again, if you're of the 12-ish win variety, win that game. You come home, you play Seattle. That's your home opener. You'll have a lot of fans. Can't lose the home opener. Then you get to week number 4. Yeah. It's, to many, it's the Cleveland Browns. To me and to us, it is former Vikings offensive coordinator Kevin Stefanski against his mentor, Mike Zimmer, who gave him a big opportunity. And Kevin is my best friend I've had in football since he got to the Vikings in 2006.
Wow.
And I'm very close with his family. His father, Ed, ran the Detroit Pistons recently. Now he's a consultant. I'm a big NBA guy. He was general manager for the Nets and the Sixers and the Grizzlies and the Raptors. So I'm very close with the Stefanskis, and I love Mike. But Kevin's going to bring his best with Baker. And Mike, with fans on his side on third down, you're going to get the prime cut from Mike Zimmer. So that's how I look at a schedule, as opposed to thinking about an over-under play or whatever at this stage of the equation.
Well, I think Rick Spielman did a great GM, of course, did a great job of the draft. I love the Darisaw pick. He looks like he could be anything on the left side of the line. Kellen Mond, I think, will be good going forward.
Yeah.
I think ideally he doesn't play this year if Kirk Cousins does his job, but that's a whole other, story. You got Wyatt Davis, another offensive lineman, and
there you go,
Chaz Surratt. I mean, I love the draft. Similar to the Bears, Paul, because the Bears also got quarterback and offensive lineman. So I think they both did a great job.
No, we're going to see Justin Fields twice this year. So by the time he plays this at the end of the year, he'll definitely be in the mix, unless the weather's bad and the team's really bad. But from our standpoint, for us, with that Wyatt Davis you mentioned from Ohio State, he should be a starting guard. Darisaw at left tackle. Rookie camp just got done. We got an Iowa receiver, really opened some eyes. Now that Chaz Surratt that you mentioned, linebacker from North Carolina, he was a quarterback on the team 2 years ago. And then he had an injury, and he runs like the wind. Wait till you get a load of how fast this kid is. So, yeah, we should be pretty good.
Well, I'll tell you, with the skill positions you guys have and then adding some of the offensive linemen, I think you guys could be really scary on offense. And the defense will be healthier and better. I think the NFC North, Paul, last thing I'll just say, could be the best division in the all NFL next year.
Okay.
If the Bears are improved.
I can tell you right now, AFC North is better. Stefanski, Harbaugh, Tomlin's team with Ben. Absolutely. I mean, what with Green Bay, I'm still not betting Rodgers as the quarterback. So
really,
he might be, but I'm not betting that he is.
Wow. Okay.
I don't like the situation that they have there right now. The Bears, who knows? Lions will be better, and they'll be tougher, and they'll play harder later in the season, and we're going to be okay. So I see what you're saying there. Now, depending on what New England does, I actually think the Jets are going to jump up a little bit this year because they got things squared away in some key spots. But New England, you'll start to get one last run from Bill, and he'll make a run. Buffalo's good. Miami's going to be good. AFC East sneakily could be the best also.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know you guys just, as Bears finished up rookie minicamp, and then we got the OTAs and et cetera. It's just going to be, unfortunately, COVID is, looked like it's, starting to go away, and it's going to be fantastic. Paul Allen, I cannot thank
My
you
man,
enough.
that was fun.
If you could just stay on for 30 seconds when I end the show, I'll just talk to you real quick, get some contact info if possible. But
Sure.
I really appreciate you, and sorry we couldn't take as many questions from the fans. How do people contact you, Paul, if they want to get in touch with you?
They contact Jeff Madey at Canterbury Park.
Or on Twitter, right? You have a Twitter as well.
Yeah, PA on the mic via Twitter.
All right. Paul Allen, folks. Thanks a lot, Paul. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone for joining the show tonight. This has been Howard Kravitz for the HHH Racing Podcast. Take care, everyone. Good night.